It's computing. Awesome. Well, here we go. It took us a second to get all organized, appropriately enough for Stresstember, which makes sense. I don't know if anybody else, Sarah and I were talking about this before we did this today, and just kind of thinking about how it definitely, I have felt the stress since August, mid-August, August 18th, began to really ramp up. So it seems really appropriate to be doing this webinar, because I think there's going to be some good reminders for myself that I'm probably going to need to apply, because I think sometimes we can forget all the things we need to be doing to take care of our bodies with stress. So thank you so much to everybody who's joined today for our Stresstember. Oh, you have to do that. You're doing the slides, not me. There we go. I just get to sit relax. It's up to you now. All right, one less stress for me. Okay. My name is Ashlie. I'm the founder and CEO of Aeryon Wellness. I'm a holistic nutritionalist, eating disorder recovery coach, ISSA trainer, CBT practitioner. 2020 and 2021, I was actually top 100 health and wellness influencer. I have a book on Amazon called Believe Me to Balance, and I'm a wellness expert and had a radio show out here for a number of years. So I don't want to go too far into it, but basically my whole journey now is really about empowering women with holistic health. That's really the mission of the brand that I have, which is Aeryon Wellness. We are a female supplement support company, and we're really kind of just trying to educate women and empower them to take charge of their health, not only just by taking supplements, by using 5 pillars, which Sarah and I both resonate with. And we're going to get into that in a couple slides. So.
So this is a little bit about me. My name is Sarah Collins. I am a functional nutritionist, and I have a practice that specializes in helping females with hormones and digestive health. So I deal with lots and lots of women who have high stress and are dealing with some of the issues, which we'll talk about today, that come as a result. I am the CEO of Embodied Wellness Co., and our company's hashtag is Making Women Healthy Again. So our whole practice is based around teaching women how to be healthy. And really, we promote education and starting educating women young, as well as at any age, on how to take care of their bodies. So I have lots of certifications in the field, and I've been studying in this field, as well as like Chinese medicine, Ayurveda, for almost 10 years now, which seems pretty crazy because I still feel really young. But basically my whole practice.
You are really
I'm really young. I just turned 27, but I started studying biology at a university level when I was in high school. So I've always been like in love with the body and how the body works. And it's been really nice to really dive into that in the space of female health.
So the 5 pillars of holistic health, as I kind of mentioned, these are really the pillars of Aeryon Wellness, my brand, but I know that Sarah really resonates with this. And I think that's why we can do these talks, and we have a lot of fun doing them together, because we both really have these beliefs. So, true health and wellness is not just taking supplements. It's not just exercising. It's not just eating well. It really is an embodiment of all these different things, embody and go. So these are the 5 pillars: the thoughts you think, the friends you keep, your daily movement, nutrition, and then supplementation. You can hook yourself up to all the ashwagandha in the world, but if you're still in a negative fear-based state, you're still going to be pretty stressed. So we're really going to be looking at this conversation today with our talk.
So today we're going to talk about what stress is and all of its different manifestations, how to support our body through stress, and nutrition, lifestyle, movement, all of the 5 pillars. And then we'll get into a little bit of supplement supports. If you have any questions, you can either just put them on the chat or save them to the end. And then we will open up discussion at the end for any questions that come up. We're going to get into lots of goodies today. So this is one of my all-time favorite graphics to kind of show you, let's get us out of here, to show you just how much of an umbrella term stress really is. And in my practice, I'll ask clients all the time to rate their stress on a scale of 1 to 10. That's on my intake form. And a client might rate their stress as a 2 out of 10. But I see lots of these maybe physiological stressors. So like digestive issues or hormone issues, or maybe they have lots of allergies and their body's just really inflamed, or they have sleep issues. And all of these things fall under the umbrella term of stress, right? So stress is not just, do I feel stressed? Do I feel emotionally stressed? It's really looking at the total load that this big idea of stress has on our body, which falls under lots of categories. And you'll probably notice a lot of these things are tied together. So when you're stressed out, your appetite is going to suffer. When you're stressed out, you're going to have digestive issues. So it really is more than just emotional. And if we think about what is stress on a very base level, your body doesn't know the difference between being chased by a bear or being in famine, 100 years ago, 200 years ago, versus like your boss is being an a-hole to you, right? So your body on a very base level doesn't know the difference between those kind of stresses. So it's really important when we're, looking at supporting stress in our body that we're taking this broad view and not just being like, oh, do I or don't I feel stressed? And the other thing that I see a lot, in myself too, I'm really bad for this, is we have a lot of great mechanisms that help us to deal with stress. So I'm like, no, I'm not stressed. And people are like, look at you, like you're going all the time. And I'm like, oh, maybe I am stressed, but I might not necessarily realize it because this high stress, high sympathetic nervous system cortisol state has just become my standard. And so a lot of us live in that state nowadays, which is probably why you're watching this webinar. And so it's really good to start to just break it down and understand like different areas that our body could be stressed out and start to support it in a more broad view.
So this one's mine. We're going to talk, sorry. So we're looking at some exercise with stress. So one of the things we're looking at stress a lot of the time, exercise can actually be a good thing for you when we're actually in a stress zone. But is that what I was talking about? Sorry. Cool.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Lost my train of thought there. However, when we are over exercising, when we're really stressing our body, when we are super stressed and we start like doing stuff like high intensive training, that will actually hurt our body even more. So we really need to take the time to relax a little bit more, go for walks, do yoga, do things that are a lot more nurturing for our body in times of super stress instead of going balls to the wall, and being able to step back a bit and acknowledge that for yourself.
Yeah. And a little bit of stress, is normal and it's actually good, right? So like Aeryon was saying when we were talking before this, if a car falls on you, you need that little bit of stress and adrenaline to get the car off of you. But the issue is that many of us are not just experiencing these acute little bursts of stress, we're living in that. And that's when our body starts to break down as a result. When we have this chronic and prolonged stress, it's going to start to affect lots of different things, as we saw in the last slide. So this is what's actually happening when your body is stressed out. So there's a physiological response that happens to stress in general. So let's say I sense in my environment, a bear is running at me. What happens? This part of my brain called the hypothalamus is like detecting stress. And then it's going to signal something called your pituitary gland, which is going to secrete some hormones. We don't need to get too much into it, which sends a signal to your adrenal glands. And if you are most of us have probably heard of like adrenal fatigue or adrenal based issues or cortisol. So essentially when we perceive a stress, it tells your adrenals to pump out hormones, one of those being cortisol, which is often termed as your stress hormone. Now, cortisol's main job is really just to prepare me to deal with the outside world, whatever's going on there. So when my body's pumping out cortisol, it's really a way for me to have all of these things happen: fast breathing, increased alertness, increased energy, converting some of the stored energy in my body to energy that's available for use, slowing down digestion because that takes energy. And it's really diverting all my resources to prepare me to fight something, right? And so its job is to bring a lot of resources, again, to be able to deal with whatever's happening in the environment. And so that's why we all often hear us, and as we go along, talk about cortisol, because it is the hormone that's secreted when your body perceives a stress. Now, something important about cortisol to know is that if it's in a good amount, it's just like it's in a normal function, it's not bad, and it does get a bad rep. But when we do have too much cortisol for a long period of time, it becomes catabolic. Essentially, that word just means it starts to break your body down. We also have another hormone we won't get into called DHEA, which is anabolic. So again, we want these two in balance. But when we have too much cortisol for long periods of time, your body will start to break down. And what does that mean? It means you feel like you're breaking down, your muscles start to waste, your energy starts to decline, your digestion starts to suffer. So all of these symptoms that we're going to talk about are really your body is breaking down. And so we cannot be in a state of breaking down and building up at the same time, right? So we do need to recognize that when we're in this state right here, and we're in a chronic stress, we're in this catabolic breaking down state in the sympathetic nervous system. And so we really need to take intentional time to be in the other state, building up parasympathetic nervous system response, because most of us, unfortunately, are living in this fight or flight mode. And this is happening all the time, which we'll talk about can have other issues as well.
So some of the chronic symptoms of stress. So if you are somebody, I know myself, I do experience some of these, but I really experienced a lot of them about 10 years ago before I started the brand. But sleep issues, you can't get a good night's sleep, weight gain, especially around the abdomen, it's kind of known as the cortisol belly, craving sugar and salt, digestive issues. Constipation actually is another indication as well if you are stressed. You have hormone imbalances, so your periods are really off, you have severe PMS, you just have an inability to handle stress. Actually, I've had a couple of freak out moments lately. Maybe I'm a little too overstressed, I think. So now when I look at some of these blood sugar issues, so you're really up and down. So you're really crashing heavy. That would also be a really big indication. So middle of the day, you're just feeling so exhausted. Irritability, you're getting really angry for no reason. Acne, of course, your skin is acting up. Fatigue, you're just exhausted. Muscle loss, you really notice that you're really not as muscular. If you are putting in the work, especially too, you're just not getting the results that you used to get. And also exercise intolerance, which kind of fall under the muscle loss category there. So your body's just not giving you the results you want, even though you are exercising and putting the work in.
Mm-hmm. And with people who get to like, we'll talk about this in the next slide, kind of the end stages of like a full-on burnout, they actually might feel worse from exercise. Like exercise might make them feel really crappy. Caffeine might start to make them feel worse or like lower in energy. And the inability to handle stress is like maybe something that's really insignificant that wouldn't otherwise bother you, all of a sudden feels overwhelming. That's kind of one of my main markers when I know I'm too stressed, is like, it will be something so minuscule, like I have to change something, like, or respond to an email, and I'm like, oh, where am I going to do that? How am I going to fit this in? So you're just like literally unable to deal with all of these small things. And those are just some of the ways that stress can pop up. So we're not going to go like super into depth about this, but the main thing to know is that, again, we have our adrenals, which pump out cortisol. And this is what like a normal cortisol pattern would look like. So we do want more cortisol in the morning, which gives us energy and alertness. And then we want it to come falling down in the afternoon and the evening so that melatonin can be produced and that we'll be able to sleep. So this whole cycle is called your circadian rhythm, gives you energy in the morning, helps you sleep in the evening. Now, this is what a normal pattern looks like. So if I was going to be under prolonged stress, there's essentially 4 different stages that I could move through depending how severe my stress is and how long I'm under this period of stress. And that would start to progress in symptoms so that I would feel worse and worse and worse. So the first phase is called the alarm phase. And this is actually where people will feel pretty good. They have high cortisol, their body's pumping out cortisol. And as we talked about, it makes you feel alert. So I'm like, I'm on top of the world. I'm a boss babe. I'm getting all the things done. I can handle anything anyone throws at me. We've all been there. We're like, yeah, I'm really killing this shit. Like I'm rocking it. I'm on top of the world. So you might actually not notice any symptoms in this first alarm phase. And the alarm phase can also be a natural response to something. So it's not necessarily bad, right? If somebody came and started knocking down the door, I would be in alarm phase right now, but my body should be able to regulate. But if we stay in this alarm phase for too long, we move to phase number 2, which is what we call wired and tired. So we still have high cortisol here. One of the most classic symptoms is people might feel more tired in the morning, but then they get like a second wind in the evening. You see this all the time. They're like, I feel so tired all day. And then when I put my kids to bed, all of a sudden I'm ready to go. I'm like, yeah, baby, your adrenals need some love. So, yeah, I know, I get it. So this stage is also, people might be relying on caffeine to make it through. So like really struggling to get out of bed in the morning, having energy crashes. They can start to have blood sugar issues, cravings, irritability and mood swings. And again, just like the second wind in the evening. So both of these are high cortisol. And then the first couple stages, because it's not quite as severe, it's relatively easy to re-regulate with just like reduce your stress load, practice a couple of things we're going to talk about. But these next 2 stages are a little bit more severe. And from my personal experience, I was in this stage down here after years of like teaching fitness classes was my main job and dieting. And it's now probably 3 or 4 years later, and I'm still like working my way out of it. So this is pretty intense. And this is also what I do for a living. And I've been able to kind of craft my whole life around reducing stress and working like when I want to. And still, it's like 3 years later and I'm pretty much coming out of it now. So these next 2 stages are pretty intense. And usually the issues we see in these stages have been happening for years, not just like a little period of stress. This is like the person who is, a lawyer, when they're also like running marathons, like they're pretty stressed out. So in these 2 stages, we actually start to get low cortisol. So your body is really good at doing its job. Same with your adrenals, right? So if I want to coach clients, for example, I'm pretty good at doing my job. I can, figure out people's problems, help them. But if all of a sudden I get 100 new clients, I'm no longer good at servicing my clients because it's just too much for me. Same with your body. If you ask your body to adapt to and to deal with too much stress, your body's like, this is too much. We can't do it. So it actually starts to decrease how much cortisol it's pumping out because it's trying to save you energy because you're in such a depleted state. So now we're starting to see like really intense fatigue, probably doesn't even get better with caffeine. Caffeine is just like keeping you pretty flatlined. We're also going to start to see really issues come up with sex hormones. So like maybe missing periods or thyroid is impacted. Hypothyroidism can be caused a lot by chronic stress, blood sugar swings. When I was in the state, I had pre-diabetes and I was eating so well and like not even eating a lot of carbs and exercising a lot. Digestive issues are really common, just lower sex hormone levels, like no sex drive. I remember being in this and I was like, you could put anybody in front of me and I'd be like, don't touch me. Like really, like this is a really intense state of burnout where you just don't want like to anything to do with anyone kind of a deal. And this would again be like more of the prolonged stage after probably like months or even I would say years of being under the stress. So the main thing to know from this slide is that a little bit of stress is okay, but as you can see, the more that it goes on and on, it's having a greater impact on our body. It will take you longer to heal, and we do need to make bigger changes, right? So it's not as simple as like, maybe I'll cut down a little bit on my activity. Like when we're in a true state of burnout, we really need to make some serious changes in order to get our body better because it's not easy to come out of that. And it's also not an awesome place to be living in, speaking from experience. All right. Supporting stress through the 5 pillars. So I'll just talk a little bit about this one. Nutrition is my jam. So there's lots we could get into here. We're not going to go into everything. Of course, I could do like a whole webinar on nutrition for stress, but the main thing is make sure you're eating enough. Many women are not eating enough, especially earlier in the day. So like some of you are going to listen and I'm going to describe exactly your situation. You wake up in the morning, you got to get your kids to school, you got to go to work, whatever. You just have a coffee. You wait until like lunch to eat. You have a couple bites of your lunch because you're really busy. You have meetings, you've got to do whatever. Maybe you'll have like an egg bite from Starbucks or something like that. And then you go on all afternoon, you get home, you make dinner. And then in the evening, you just eat a bunch of food because you haven't eaten all day. And then you're like, what's wrong with me? I have no willpower. Babe, you got to eat earlier in the day. So the best thing you can do for your body if you are in a state of stress is to make sure you're eating enough and start your day with eating within about an hour of waking. I'm actually a big fan of intermittent fasting. But if you are in a stressed out state and you are suffering from adrenal based issues, breakfast is really important. And then eating every 3 to 4 hours after to support your blood sugar stability. So just that alone can do wonders for your body to just promote safety, right? If I'm giving my body signs of chaos, like erratic eating behaviors, waiting too long to eat, my body feels chaotic. If I'm like, don't worry, baby, we're going to feed you. We're going to eat consistently. No need to worry. My body's like, okay, we don't need to freak out. We know we're going to be getting this consistent nourishment. And it feels safe for my adrenals to have that consistent nourishment throughout the day. So eating enough is important. And then the next thing is like, what am I eating when I'm having these feedings every 3 to 4 hours? So when we are under a period of stress, our body is burning through minerals really quick because my adrenals are taking the minerals I'm eating and using it to make cortisol. So we actually have an increased need for minerals, especially sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, and carbohydrates. So there's actually lots of studies that show when you're under stress, your body has an increased need for carbs. And that doesn't mean you're like, yeah, well, this one girl on a webinar said that I need more carbs. So I'm just going to go and eat all the chocolate and all the chips at night when I'm stressed out. So we do want to be still focusing on like those slow digesting, mineral rich carb sources. I'm a big fan of fruits, quinoa, sweet potatoes, all of the whole food carb sources are going to really service your body well. And then making sure that we have enough protein, fat, and fiber with those actual meals. Another thing for nutrition, which will kind of be the last thing we talk about, is just making sure that we're eating foods that are also not inflaming our body. I know this is kind of like a big buzzword and I don't love to use that word, but if I'm eating a bunch of processed crapola from the store and putting it into my body and my body's already stressed, my digestive system's already not working optimally, because if we remember, when we're in fight or flight mode, I'm drawing resources away from digestion. And then I'm putting all these foods that my body doesn't really agree with, I'm not going to feel that great. So we really want to focus on eating foods we digest well, ideally whole, minimally processed foods. So even like frozen vegetables are great, like buying more convenient options, getting like cans of tuna. You don't have to spend a bunch of money or like time meal prepping, but really just trying to support our body on a base level. And coming from somebody who works with lots of clients with stress and anxiety, I can't even tell you the number of times I've had clients within 2 weeks or less say, I can't believe how much less anxiety I have from eating enough. And this is what I do with all my clients in our first few weeks. Eat consistently. We're going to focus on balancing your meals, and it's insane the impact it has. We don't need to follow all these fancy protocols. Like, this alone is going to make you feel so much better. It's like, I'm giving this out for free. This is some of the best information out there, but it's so true that like eating enough, and especially eating earlier in the day, is just going to help your body have more resilience to stress on a physiological level. I could go on all day, but I won't.
Hey, I love listening. I think we all do. Next, the thoughts you think. So this is a big thing for me, especially coming from somebody who struggled with eating disorders for many years. One of the things I really had to work through when I kind of had my health crisis, and when I began to really pick apart my relationship with my body and with food, and actually that caused a lot of anxiety for me. When you think about food, I was very always anxious around food. I really had to start really looking at the conversations I was having, because as I mentioned earlier, you can hook yourself up to all the ashwagandha in the world, but if you are in a fear-based negative state of mind all the time, you're still going to be stressed. So it's really important that we take necessary steps to really start looking at the thoughts. So cognitive behavioral is basically thoughts create feelings, create actions of non-action, right? So it's one or the other. You're either going to do something, you're not going to do something based on your thoughts. You're going to be like, I suck. I never lose weight. Nothing ever works for me. I'm not going to go to the gym. And your result is I'm not going to the gym. Or you're going to be like, I'm going to stay on this because I feel fantastic when I have a great workout. I'm going to go make sure I go work out again. So it really is important how we're framing those thoughts in our day-to-day, actually, right? From the moment you wake up. One of the things I do in the morning that really I find kickstarts my day for me is I lay in bed. The very first thing, I don't pick up my phone the first thing. And I pray. So I've always prayed. I was raised in a Christian household. I'm not necessarily, a churchgoer now, but it still is something I feel very connected to. So you don't have to pray by any stretch. But I pray and I just give thanks for all that I am and all that I have. And I really focus on what my day is going to look like. And then I just do gratitude. And that's kind of the thing we're talking about here: meditation, journaling, practicing gratitude, because it really does frame my whole entire day. I ask the universe to use me to help others, like all of that. And that really makes a profound difference on how everything works out, or how I perceive things as working out, because I don't look at things as negatively. I look at it as, okay, this is all right. This is going to happen. This is going to take me to my next step. Right. So another thing too is therapy and counseling. Nothing is wrong with counseling. Counseling is fantastic. And I think it's always great if you need somebody to talk to, or you need that support, that you then can turn to have somebody to talk to. So my mom was a guidance counselor. I know I sought therapy and counseling when I kind of came out of my eating disorder as well, because I really needed that support around me.
Yeah, my dad's a trauma counselor too, and like a lot of stress is stuff that's happening in your environment, yes, but the other side of that is like the way that we perceive what's happening in our environment and the way that we deal with it. So, oftentimes people are maybe in situations where they can't just change their situations. Like, you could have a really stressful home environment. You could have a really stressful work environment. Like, yeah, it's like, okay, quit your job. But realistically, sometimes, we're in these stressful environments and it can seem really overwhelming. And so switching the way that we think or perceive about that environment and the way that we show up can be really, really beneficial. And a lot of people, even in like the realm of nutrition and stress eating or like emotional eating, they kind of snub their nose at stuff like, therapy and counseling. But actually, like, studies show what's more effective than like dieting for weight loss is counseling. Like, not a dietitian, not a nutritionist, coming from a nutritionist, counseling to work on like the underlying stuff.
Too is, when we think about stress, it's usually about what's happened in the past, something you're, overanalyzing that's happened, or something that's going to happen in the future. And that's the other thing too, is getting really present, taking that moment, taking some breaths, really connecting to self, right? Really like, I'm here right now, and everything in this moment, I am okay. Right. Mm-hmm. So I think that's really important too, to really kind of connect to self. But yeah, the mindset and the thoughts you think is the most important one.
Our next slide. Perfect. Check in with yourself and stay connected to your body. This is so important, especially in catching yourself before things get too far. most of us nowadays, the way society is, we live in this constant state of like next thing. I call it like a spiral. Like I'm really bad for this too, where it feels like every week is just like da-da-da-da-da. My mom says that I'm like what's that cartoon?
Oh,
Roadrunner.
yeah, same thing.
Roadrunner who's like swirling, swirling, swirling around and then stops and is like, whoa, and then goes back to swirling. Like this is the way a lot of us live, right? We're just constantly like next thing, stimulus, going here, going there. And we don't take time to stop and reflect. And like personally, I notice in my body when I'm feeling stressed out is I hold my breath a lot, which most of us do. My dad is like, first thing he does with all his clients is like, you have to exhale. Cause I used to sit there like doing work or whatever. And I'd be like, when I moved in with my boyfriend at the time, he was like, are you okay? Like, you're not even breathing. And a lot of us do that, or we sit with our shoulders up here, or we clench our fist, clench our jaw, and we just hold on to so much stress and tension. And so when we stop and we're like, oh, I'm really stressed out right now. Or notice next time you're eating and doing something, how fast you're eating. It's like almost spastic eating. We're like doing all of these things so quickly and so mindlessly, and we're not stopping to actually feel how we are in our body. And so just taking time throughout the day, it could be, 3 breaths, less than a minute, could be 5 minutes to be like, how am I feeling right now? What am I feeling in my body? Where am I holding tension? How can I release that tension? And including little, I call them like little appetizers of de-stressing throughout the day. So my favorite is laying on the floor in the middle of a workday for 5 minutes, like phone away. I just lay on the floor, nothing fancy. Some people really like meditation, that could work, but taking time to spend alone in stillness with just you is one of the most therapeutic things you can do that's going to stem into everything else. Because many people spend zero time with themselves and their thoughts, just trying to be still. Like maybe you spend time commuting, but you're probably thinking about your home life or your work life, but actually to just sit there and to focus on your body is something that a lot of people are missing. And no wonder so many women feel so disconnected from their body, because we are not connecting with ourselves enough. And so this is one of the best things we can do for stress management, and also for realizing when our body is moving into a state of stress and being able to read those signs and understanding our own unique body.
Just even saying that, I was just like taking a deep breath in, just like realizing, because I know with myself, I'd mentioned that before when we talked before this, but I'll lay in bed at night and I realize I'm like this, like I'm all,
Yeah.
oh my God, what am I doing? It's like, like sometimes you just catch yourself, and it's like even throughout the day when you're working, just kind of like, okay, or go for a big stretch and just like let it all out and shake it out. Yeah, because I think sometimes we can really become unaware of our physical posture, just like
Oh yeah.
you
And
know.
mine that I always notice is always when I'm eating and I'm like chewing so quickly and I catch myself and I just kind of laugh. Like it's funny to me now because I'm like, girl, you've got to chill out. Like, are you okay?
No,
Why
why are you eating so fast?
are you chewing so aggressively?
Nobody's going to come steal it from you. It's okay.
Yeah.
So movement, I kind of mentioned a little bit of it before, but we also need to know what the right kind of movement is for us, not too much and not too low, just like Goldilocks and the porridge that she was eating that day. So exercise is actually a stressor on your body. And so if you are really serious burnout, as I mentioned, it's really important to kind of take things down a bit. You can still exercise, still move your body. I know for myself, I like waking up and moving my body every day, but sometimes I know it's not good for me to be sprinting on the treadmill. Some days I can just do the elliptical and kind of just zone out for a bit and maybe not think about, pushing as hard as I possibly can. So doing yoga, doing stretching. It can also help distress. As I said, that's something I like to use as a distressor for myself, is exercising. And then also to being active does boost your endorphins and actually your feel-good hormones. So it really can help you move through the day and have more energy. So looking at movement in a different way. It's also not looking at movement as punishment. I think that was something else a lot of us tend to do. And that then when you're looking at it as a guilt trip because you've enjoyed something or because you're having really self-deprecating thoughts about yourself, that's also going to raise your cortisol levels too. So it's going to make you even more stressed. So then you're not in that moment being grateful. I've changed the way I look at exercise, and when I exercise, I'm so grateful that I have this body, because there's somebody in the world right now, who would just give anything to be able to walk and run and to be able to be healthy. And so I think a lot of the time we can get away from that. And so being really grateful and using exercise as our way of giving thanks, I think is a great way to kind of look at things.
Mm-hmm. All right, rest and recovery. So this is also something that I see lots of people don't put enough emphasis on. And I know we hear it all the time that it's kind of like, whatever. But truly, like sleep and recovery are so important. Personally, I noticed the biggest shift in like my energy, my sex drive, the way that I felt, my hormone levels improving when I go to bed before 10. And I still wake up early, but going to bed before 10 and getting at least 7.5, 8 hours changed my life. And I used to be somebody who's like, I can function really well on 5.5 hours of sleep. I'm a machine. Da da da. I used to talk so much smack, be like, 8 hours? Who has time for that? And then I tried sleeping for longer and I was like, oh, I thought I was functioning like a machine, but actually I was probably at about 60%. And I thought it was my 100 because that's what I was used to. And so I always say, like, try getting close to 8 hours for a week and notice how different you feel. Like, it is insane the effect that it has on you and how much people sleep on it, pun intended. But really, it's one of the best things you can do to support reducing stress in the body is give yourself enough rest, right? So if we think again about stress being catabolic, what's anabolic? Building up, sleeping, resting, letting your body restore and recharge your battery. We can't just be draining it all the time. If you're in more a severe state of burnout like I was, like 8 to 9 hours. And something I always tell my clients about sleep is you can just be like, I will get more sleep this week. When we say I'm going to prioritize getting more rest, something has to give. We have to be very clear on what's pulling back so that I can get more rest. We don't, most of us just have an extra hour kicking around that I could tag on to my sleep. So for me, it was like, okay, when I'm pulling back to sleep for an extra hour, I got to set a phone lock for not scrolling on Instagram so damn much. And so my phone would lock me out of Instagram every day after 45 minutes. And I was like, I have so much time now. And that's how I prioritized it. Or, sometimes it means delegating tasks, doing meal prep so your dinner time is shorter. Like when we say we're going to prioritize getting more rest, it's not just something that happens unless we're really making the intention to allow for it to happen and planning for that. And then on the same idea of rest is recovery between workouts. When you're under more stress, you might notice if you're training intensely, I noticed this personally, my recovery is not that great. I'm like, oh, I'm really sore from that workout that otherwise wouldn't have made me so sore. So I need more rest days in between my intense training sessions. And here are just some sleep hygiene tips if you do struggle with sleep, because I know stress can also impact your ability to sleep. So then it's kind of like, because I'm stressed out, I'm not sleeping as well. And then also because I'm not sleeping as well, my body is under more stress. So these are just some tips that are really great. One of my favorite ones is getting outside in the morning sunlight. This helps, again, what we were talking about with the circadian rhythms. It helps to spike your cortisol, which can help with melatonin production later on. Get off your phone before you go to bed, avoiding blue light, including computer screens, and then trying to stick to consistent sleep and wake times, including the weekend, my friends.
I know. Actually, what I have in this place I hadn't had before. I sleep the best I've ever slept in this place. I have the best sleeps. Partly because one, the TV in my bedroom doesn't work. It's just perfect. It's hooked up. The cable doesn't work. And so my remote doesn't work. So I never turn it on. So that's been actually a real blessing. But they have blackout curtains. That has been the best thing I think money can buy is blackout curtains, because it makes my room is like a little, it's just pitch black. I just sleep so well. So if you have a hard time sleeping, I suggest blackout curtain. And I know we just come back from Toronto last night, and I wake up if there's any light. So the light from the alarm clock was on the thing, and I wasn't even facing the alarm clock direction, but it was like 3 a.m, and I just automatically like woke up, and I just knew, I was like, there was a light on, I had to cover it to bring it to complete darkness. So sometimes I think it's important we look, if there's those little lights that are on your TV, cover them up, make sure you have no light in your room.
Mm-hmm. Friends you keep.
Friends you keep. So community is everything. Having support system, not just only for if whatever health and wellness journey you're going on, but just in life in general, having people who are there to champion you on. And if you do need that support help, that you have people you can reach out to is really, really important. And also being really mindful of who brings stress into your life, and who are people who are there to help you when you need to, de-stress and kind of vent about certain things. I think I've had to, as I've gotten older, I've gotten a lot better with creating boundaries, of realizing who I can't let in, who I can let into my life. And also if my dad, for example, can be negative at times when I talk to him, and I talk to him a fair bit because his health issues. And there's mornings when he's, ranting about stuff, and I have to be like, I gotta go today. I'm so sorry. I've got some stuff to do, because I just can't have somebody who's venting on me. And so I think we really all need to understand that putting those parameters around people who can add more stress to your life is a really important part of self-care. And then really leaning to the connections and people who make you feel relaxed, really acknowledge that. Be like, this person makes me feel safe. I feel relaxed around them. I feel I can express what I'm going through. That's really important to have. So, and also accountability buddies. So if you are overworking and overextending yourself, I know my girlfriend Jen is really good at that. She'll be like, I think you need to just like take a day, because sometimes I just go like, oh, and especially this past couple of weeks, it's been super intense. This past next couple of months are going to be, but she'll just be like, I think you need to like chill today. Like you need to sit on the couch and do nothing. And I'm like, I can't just sit and do nothing. I have things to do. But having somebody who can really kind of put you in check is really important too, and vice versa for them.
Mm-hmm. Supplements.
So now the fun stuff. So one of the reasons supplements is the last of the 5 pillars, as you would have seen we talked about today, is because supplements are there to supplement you. So if you, as I mentioned, think that you're going to, take an example like Restore and think that everything's going to be better and not put all the other things into play that we spoke about, you might feel a little bit of a difference, but it's not going to make any long-term difference. It's really important that you use all these different tools we talked about earlier, looking at your sleep, looking at your support system, looking at your thoughts, looking at all these different things in accumulation. If you can make these little changes, sometimes it's hard to make these huge changes all at once, but if we can take little things that we talked about tonight, and this will be up on the YouTube channel for Aeryon Wellness. If you want to watch it again, please feel free to. But looking at these little changes you can make and then supplementing, then having a product like Restore that's there to support you is a really, really great foundational support supplement. So Restore was designed, we made this product after I had gone through my whole kind of health crisis and my adrenals were completely shot. So it helps with adrenal support, stress support, cognition, energy, and focus. It also enhances mood and helps with hormonal harmony. So what is in Restore? Can you click the next one? Okay, so in Restore, we have Chinese hawthorn. So hawthorn helps with heart health. And one of the reasons we use this is because one of the number 1 killers of women is heart disease. So we added hawthorn in there, but it's actually Chinese hawthorn. We don't have the Chinese in front of there, but that's okay. And the reason being is because there's a 2018 study on stress-induced depression. So really looking at how we can support stress. Then we have KSM 66 ashwagandha. So KSM 66, and that's not on there, so I'm gonna have to change that slide. KSM is actually the most award-winning botanical. We were the very first ones to start using it, and now there's a lot of other bigger companies using it, which I'm very grateful for, but it really is a powerful adaptogen that helps your body manage stress. And the difference with KSM is they use the root. That's what you want to have. That's where all the withanols are. That's what's going to really help you adapt and work through stress. Then we have 300 milligrams of Bacopa. That's going to help with that energy crash we're talking about at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, really help keep you focused, help with memory and brain fog. We have Astragalus that is known as a lung tonic. So really looking at supporting the immune system. And then Shashandra, which helps with the overproduction of cortisol. I know some of the things I'm saying are different, but and then B5 that helps with energy production is known as the anti-stress vitamin. This is a 1-a-day product. You can take it about 1 to 3 o'clock in the afternoon, which most adrenal products should be taken around that time. So that one is Restore. And then the next one I'm going to talk about is Snooze. So Restore and Snooze could actually be taken easily together. So again, we're not looking just at sleep. So we're not just wanting to knock you out. We're really looking at how we can support your adrenals and manage stress when you're sleeping, get you into that nice relaxed state. And there's no hangover because there's no melatonin in this product. So if you are somebody who is sensitive to melatonin, this is the product for you. So in this product, we also have Chinese hawthorn. Again, I already talked about that, but in this product, we have valerian. So valerian inhibits the breakdown of GABA, really getting into that nice, calm, rested state. We have L-theanine as well. That helps reduce stress, as we spoke about, keeping those stress levels lower. And cortisol levels will then allow your body to create more melatonin on its own. We have passion flower. Passion flower helps with night sweats. So passion flower and valerian, those two together have their studies showing that they really significantly assist with night sweats. So if you are experiencing those, you're in menopause, great product to have. Then we have GABA and magnesium glycinate. So all in all, you can take 1 to 2 a day, depending how much you need. The beauty of this one is I tend to get to sleep. I have a good night's sleep, but every now and then I'll wake up at 3 in the morning and my mind will start going. I can't get to sleep because I'm like thinking about Aeryon Wellness and all the things I need to do. I'll roll over, I'll take 1 to 2 snooze, I'm back to sleep, and I'm up at 6 in the morning at the gym. No sleep hangover. So that's the real beauty of this
I
product.
love this product too. Like
Yeah.
the first time I took it, I was like, it was insane. I was trying to watch a show and I couldn't. I fell asleep. I was like, whoa, that really knocked me out. I'm also a really great sleeper, so I don't use a lot of sleep support, but this one, I can't take it unless I want to go to sleep. It's not like a wind down for the evening type of deal for me, at least.
Well, we have a bonus size launching too. So just a little side note, in October, we have a 60 cap launching for the 30 cap price. So keep your eye open for that. And then last but not least, I'll touch this one really quickly. This is Sleeping Beauty. If you are somebody like needs to really be knocked out, I used this product when I was traveling to England. It really, really helps you sleep. So this one does have melatonin in it, 2 milligrams. It's a very low dosage. We have collagen support in there. So it's not necessarily collagen, but actually we have the ingredients and they're going to assist your body in creating its own collagen, which actually is more beneficial. It also supports the immune health and anti-aging. So we have magnesium bisglycinate in there. We have 2 milligrams of melatonin, and we have GABA. That's going to help put you in that sleep state. And then for the collagen support, we have L-lysine, Indian gooseberry, and vitamin C. So L-lysine helps with collagen formation and production in your system. And then the Indian gooseberry and the vitamin C actually assist that with your body making more collagen. So really helping with your skin. We have zinc for acne. Oh, there you go. I was like, where's the pages? We have them like, I know the product off by heart. We've got, you can go to the next one after that, actually, because I said that one. And then we've got zinc in there. Zinc is known to help with skin and with acne. Then we also got in there vitamin D as well, a full dose of vitamin D, 1,000 IUs. Really cool product. It's mixing warm like a tea if you like to. I gave it to Michaela when we traveled to England because we both were on a very long flight and it was 10 o'clock at night there. I like to be in bed 10 o'clock at night. It was 2 o'clock in the afternoon for us. And we took it, we were in bed in about 15 minutes on the plane. So we were in bed, we were asleep. So works really, really well. So that is Sleeping Beauty. There we go. Any questions?
I can't see the chat.
Anybody has any questions, they can throw them in the chat.
Can you see the chat?
Yeah, I can see the chat. Can you see the chat?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, if I see that, if anybody asks, I will read it out loud. And I'll leave the chat up and see if anybody asks any questions. But last but not least, one of the ways that we empower women with holistic health at Aeryon Wellness and get across these 5 pillars of Aeryon Wellness is using the QR codes. Back in December, I was on Dragon's Den, and that's how I got on the show, was to use the QR codes. In these QR codes, we have videos and meal plans and education and tips and tools to support you on your journey. So it's not just take this and everything's going to be better. We're really embodying a lot of that conversation that we had today in each of these QR codes, and we update them once a year to really look at how we can support you guys. So, and mine, is that me? Yeah, so I'll do mine first. So please follow us, and you can actually subscribe to our newsletter, my newsletter, Aeryon Wellness, and you can find out all about the webinars that Sarah and I host every month. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and YouTube, and then also personally at Aeryon Bella Ashlie, and then Sarah.
Mine's gone. Mine is just Sarah Collins Wellness on Instagram.
Sarah's going through, she's going to go through the whole entire PowerPoint again, but it's okay. Yeah. So if anybody has any questions, I'm going to actually stop the recording now. And yeah, but if anyone has any questions, you can just put them in the question box. And for those of you who are joining us on YouTube, thank you so much. Make sure you subscribe so you guys can follow along and learn about all the wonderful topics we talk about every single month. So
yeah, we have some fun ones coming up on digestion, which I know a lot of people will love.
Yes, IBS, digestion, constipation, really big issue for a lot of women. So that's going to be coming up in the next, I think October, we're going to do that one.
I'm
so
excited.
That'll be a good one. So I don't think we have any questions. That's good. I guess we totally got our point across. But if you do have questions, you can always reach out to Sarah. You can reach out to myself. We both are on Instagram. So if it's something you kind of want to talk privately, please feel free. And if you'd like to look at hiring Sarah for coaching, I cannot recommend her enough. Reach out to her. I think she's probably got a wait list right about now, but you can put yourself on the wait list. Maybe you'll get lucky enough to get her. So she's definitely worth it.
Thank you guys so much for coming. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. We both love this stuff. So if anything comes up or you want to watch the replay, send it out to your friends. It's a gooder.
It'll be on YouTube.
Yeah. Thanks so much for attending.
Take care. Bye.